You are the hero of your own story. I'm simply here as a guide. When you visit a doctor, they have only a glimpse of your life while you hold the full picture. Herbalists and medical astrologers use unique insights and techniques to understand your lifestyle, helping them find the plants best suited to support you. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Amanda Mary, and today we're discussing how mental health affects your physical health. I'll also briefly describe the 4 root causes of mental health and potential solutions that you should consider. I'd like to remind you that I am deeply spiritual herbalist, not a therapist. And while holistic practices should be taught, I'm no substitute for a trained trauma counselor, which is what many people need nowadays. I also want to go over how to recognize traumas, what emotion is linked to what organ, how traditional Western herbalism can play a role in healing your mind, and other tools and resources to support your journey in mental wellness. The 4 root causes of mental unwellness can be physical in origin. They can be unprocessed and unacknowledged trauma responses. It can stem from technology overuse. And the 4th reason can have a spiritual cause. Many religions and spiritual practices deal with this last cause. In astrology, it can be seen in your natal chart as residual karma from a past life. And your strengths and weaknesses concerning mental health can be seen based on where your moon is placed and how other planets are interacting with your moon. A shaman can help you look in the spirit world for answers, and Catholics are known to deal with demon possession. This 4th reason gets more into spirituality, which I'll dive more into in the next episode. It's shocking how much your mental health affects your physical health. Long-term stress can cause illness, allergies, and cancer. It's a link that's not spoken of enough. Holistic practitioners are aware of the link, though. Long-term stress is a form of unprocessed trauma. It's not possible for me to discuss every mental health issue in one episode, but I can give a basic overview. Mental illness root causes can be broken down into the tiniest details, pinpointing all the ways in which you have had to adapt to the hardships of life. Mental health can trigger illness or wellness in a person, and a physical issue can trigger a mental health issue. Most of the time, it's both, because our bodies respond to our mental states in real time. I know people want to claim it's a chemical imbalance in the brain, but this theory falls apart when you look at the latest science. 95% of your serotonin is produced in your gut, not your brain. That's why there is so much talk of fixing your gut health to fix mental health problems. Your vagus nerve also runs from your gut to your brain. When your gut health is bad, it disrupts your brain's ability to function correctly, but that's not the only culprit. There's not one person I've met with a bipolar disorder who did not have unresolved trauma to work through. As a matter of fact, I've never met a person who has never experienced trauma. Collectively, the COVID lockdowns and the subsequent aftermath has had traumatic and deadly consequences for people. When we have unprocessed grief, it puts stress on our lungs. This can show up as frequent lung infections and long-lasting coughs, or even shortness of breath. I'm not saying this is the only cause for these symptoms, but that there is a strong link between grief and lung health. Feeling anxious, have brain fog, these symptoms are tied to your kidneys. A kidney infection or stress on the kidneys can trigger these symptoms. Likewise, overthinking and being anxious can trigger kidney issues. Intense academic studies, while still a small child, can create weak kidneys in adults. It's better to let kids run and play in short periods of study than 8 hours a day of sitting at a desk doing bookwork. Academia is not a race to an arbitrary finish line. It's healthier to foster a life love of learning and exercise. You feel constantly irritated by your loved ones? You feel triggered into yelling easily? It's time to look at your liver health. I've seen people who never get angry also have liver issues. This is a result of trapped, unexpressed anger. Trapped anger looks like depression and still hurts your liver. I'm not saying you should pick fights with everyone, but I'm saying that the feelings need to be dealt with. Our world is toxic and overwhelming. Toxins can overwhelm your liver, triggering anger, and anger can trigger liver problems. It's a two-way street. It's much better to sit with your anger and explore why these feelings are coming up than taking it out on the people around you. Also, raw dandelion root, don't buy the roasted version, can help your liver. There's stronger herbs out there, but dandelion root is the easiest for people to buy in the store or pluck from the ground. But why do people get cancers in different parts of their bodies? The correlation can be found in their mental health. Dr. Hamer in Germany emotionally suffered greatly after his son died in his arms after a tragic accident. Dr. Hamer formed testicular cancer after the incident. He went to a support group and realized everyone suffering from testicular cancer also suffered from the loss of a child. Hamer's experience started the theory of German New Medicine. This fascinating practice looks deeply at the mind-body connection. Dr. Hamer realized a vast majority of diseases, illnesses, or imbalances in the body, big or small, originate from a shock, sudden stressor, or traumatic event that either catches us completely by surprise and or lingers and is not addressed. The brain cells that receive the conflict then send a biochemical signal to the corresponding body cells, tissues, or organs, causing inflammation, the growth of a tumor, a meltdown of tissues and cells, functional loss, and or immune response. As a result, information gets trapped in the brain in corresponding organ location. This change in the brain is seen on CT scans and confirms what holistic practitioners have been saying for many years. There is a link between specific organs, human emotions, and brain function. German New Medicine essentially boils down to the thinking that dis-ease in our lives can manifest as disease or imbalance in the body. Health issues are often a metaphor story of an imbalance in our lives, and our symptoms are often direct mirrors of the conflicts we experience. For example, in an indigestible conflict can show up as digestion issues. But how can people living in the same environment and eating the same foods not all get sick in the same way or at the same time, or some get sick and others not at all? Another fascinating reason is authenticity. Inauthenticity is being overly concerned about what other people think, so you start wearing a fake mask, which causes you to not stand in integrity. It separates you from your true emotions and hence your inner guidance. Inauthenticity results in depression and disease despite eating healthy and exercising. Being inauthentic is the norm in society, and so is emotional suppression. Being authentic means there's no separation between you and your inner life and outer life. Gabor Mate, in the book The Myth of Normal, says people with a type C personality are at a high risk for cancer. These are patients who are excessively nice, uncomplaining, compulsively nice, and repress their negative emotions. This practice may protect against stress, but it takes a toll on the body. People with melanoma do not consciously feel stress, but the body feels it. There's no protection against the effects. Disassociation from stress can disconnect you from authenticity. Disconnecting from quote unquote bad feelings can cause autoimmune diseases and trigger migraine headaches. Type C personalities can become automatic and compulsive, have a strong sense of duty, can be overly driven, hyper-responsible, and repress natural forms of self-protection. They think, I must never disappoint anyone. There is no such thing as painless authenticity. Be honest about how you feel. Notice how what you say feels in your body. Be aware of when you are being authentic. How does that feel? It's not easy to be authentic. It's a process of rediscovering yourself and disconnecting from other people's opinions of you. People pleasing can be a byproduct of trauma, but it can also be a personality trait. Zodiac signs famous for people pleasing and needing to learn the art of setting healthy boundaries are Libra, Pisces, Cancer, Gemini, Taurus, and Sagittarius. I just named off the bulk of my personal astrological chart. This one was a hard one for me to learn. The mature side of people-pleasing is Stoicism. Stoicism is an ancient Greek philosophy that emphasizes resilience, rational thinking, and self-control as paths to achieving inner peace and living a virtuous life. Founded in Athens by Zeno of Citium around 300 BCE, Stoicism teaches that the key to a good life is focusing on what you can control and accept what you cannot. This outlook makes living an authentic life much easier. Disconnecting from other people's opinions of you is a huge, unspoken topic in the nomadic community. As someone who has lived and traveled all over the U.S. for most of my life, and as someone who currently lives on a sailboat, this lifestyle scares people who are not involved in it, and they pass those fears on to you in the form of criticism. There's a natural tendency to unconsciously think that if you can get this critical person on your side, your life would be much happier. You may not consciously think that, but that tends to be the unconscious motivation of arguing with people who don't agree with your life choices. Understanding this allows you to disconnect from the need to change their opinion of you. It's frankly a problem you don't need to take on. Being a nomad has much higher highs and much lower lows than a person who stays put in one place. The highs are incredible and often romanticized. The lows are so low that many quit or they don't discuss it with unsupported people back home when the issues really need to be discussed and brought to perspective. This can lead nomads to lead isolated lives, but I hope you don't choose that for yourselves. There are many in the community who understand bad things happen, and you don't always have to have an immediate answer to fix it, but you can ask for advice. In the boating community, boaters have tons of bad advice to give you, but there's also those sages that give amazing advice. I'm always seeking those amazing gems in my community. To help avoid getting into a lonely rut and stay social, I challenge you to contact a different person every day, even if it's a quick text to say hi. It's amazing how keeping in contact with people can boost your mental health for the day and give you perspective with the day's challenges. Another helpful tool with mental health is astrology. There are aspects that create the likelihood of long-term mental health and short spurts of mental health issues. This is never guaranteed because we do have free will, but a shockingly high number of people do not practice free will. They unconsciously make decisions based on planetary alignments without even realizing it. The more spiritual and aware you become, the more choices you create for your life. I don't want to dig too deeply into astrology in this episode, but there are certain aspects that a person may find easier to overcome if an astrologer points out what is going on. One is Saturn transits over your natal moon. Saturn transits last about 2.5 years, and this one can make people very emotional and sometimes suicidal. Understanding that dealing with Saturn means solutions will happen more slowly and difficult situations can be drawn out. Knowing that there's an end to what you're going through can improve your outlook on life. In Vedic astrology, this period of time is called Sati Sati. The moon rules over your emotions, and depending upon what sign, house, and other planetary aspects are involved, can change what area of your life becomes hard and how much support you receive from outsiders. The moon also rules for fertility, and it's common for women to see a fertility doctor during this time period. This example shows how stagnant, unprocessed high emotions can disrupt the ability to have a baby. It's easy to blame Saturn, but really we have the free will to face the emotional challenges being brought up and correct the health conditions involved with Saturn's influence. At the end of the day, Saturn holds up a mirror so we can heal the things that need to be healed, and that always involves hard work. But how does technology play a role in our mental health? So I'm going to go ahead and list the top 10 examples. It's not going to be all of the situations that you could possibly come across while using social media or technology, but it's going to be what probably you're most likely to relate to. So number one is social media and self-esteem. Constant exposure to curated images and posts can lead to comparisons, feelings of inadequacy, and lower self-esteem, especially in young people. So number two would be cyberbullying and harassment. Online harassment can lead to anxiety, depression, and even post-traumatic stress, with no physical escape from bullies on digital platforms. Number three would be screen addiction and dopamine dependency. Technology can create addictive cycles, particularly in social media and gaming. They disrupt daily life and make it difficult to disengage. 4, sleep disruption. Blue light from screens can interfere with sleep patterns, leading to poor sleep quality and increased mental health issues like anxiety and depression. This is really, really huge. And you can see if people are not getting enough sleep when you look at the 12th house in their astrological chart, because that's the area that rules sleep. But this is a terrible epidemic. If you're not getting enough sleep, it affects the quality of your health. And then it can be hard for somebody who doesn't ask the question, well, how are you sleeping? How much sleep are you getting at night? To pinpoint the true root cause of why you don't feel good and you're sick all the time. Number 5 would be isolation and loneliness. Despite increased connectivity, reliance on digital interactions can replace in-person connections, often leaving people feeling isolated and lonely. 6, reduced attention span. Continuous exposure to fast-paced information, notifications, and multitasking can hinder concentration and make sustained focus difficult. So not everybody's ADHD is just you were born that way. Technology plays a huge role in this diagnosis, but so does trauma. So it's important to take a hard look at yourself and maybe speak professional if you feel you need that. Number 7, misinformation and anxiety. Online misinformation, especially about health or safety, can create confusion, fear, and a heightened state of anxiety. FOMO, fear of missing out. Seeing others' highlights online can lead to FOMO, increasing stress and a sense of inadequacy by amplifying perceived missed opportunities or experiences. 9, privacy invasions and data concerns. Digital privacy breaches or data misuse can create feelings of insecurity and anxiety and a lack of control over personal information. 10, negative impact on empathy and interpersonal skills. Overuse of digital interactions may hinder the development of empathy and social skills, impacting in-person relationships and emotional intelligence. Many parents are reporting that their children become violent and aggressive when their children spend too much time online. The saying, go outside and touch grass, while meant to be an insult, is actually good advice to help ground a person. And lastly, we have covered picking out a diet based on your constitution in the last episode, but I would like to focus more on specific nutrients for mental health in this episode. Listen to the last episode if you'd like to learn more about your constitution based on traditional Western herbalism. A study in 2007 conducted by the University of South Carolina in Columbia showed a connection between low levels of antioxidant vitamins and carotenoids in the blood and a history of attempted suicide. Carotenoids are the orange and yellow pigments found in fruits and vegetables. The simplest way for a world explorer or a busy person to fix this is with powdered vegetable and fruit supplements that can easily be mixed in water or smoothies. Getting enough fresh produce in your diet and limiting processed foods like chips, cookies, and microwave foods is an issue for many people. I discussed how eating healthy fats is important for stabilizing anxiety while discussing ectomorphic constitutions in the last episode. This advice is actually good for all constitutional types. It's just that constitution is prone to avoiding fats as much as possible. I want to now add omega-3 fatty acids to the discussion. Your brain is 60% fat. You're starving your brain on low-fat diets, people, and it needs healthy fats in order to function correctly. Omega-3s are mainly found in fish. Omega-6s are mainly found in unhealthy fats from vegetable oils, hydrogenated oils, and grain-fed animals. It's important to make the distinction between grain-fed and chicken and grass-fed beef and pasture-raised chickens. Their meat profiles are different. Grass-fed and pasture-raised meats contain the correct fats for brain health. Bad oils starve your brain and trigger inflammation throughout the body. Low levels of omega-3s can cause conditions like anxiety, low libido, depression, seasonal affective disorder, autism, ADHD, social phobias, aggressive behavior, borderline personality disorder, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder. A study at the University of Pittsburgh found that even among healthy adults, low levels of omega-3s cause a more negative outlook on life and caused impulsive behavior. Eating more oily fish or taking fish oil can get you the EPA and DHA needed for your body to produce omega-3 fatty acids. Vitamin D is another important nutrient for mental health. Everyone knows that being out in the sun for 20 minutes a day is the ideal way to get enough vitamin D. Many avoid the sun because they burn. Bad oils, even from grocery store bacon, can encourage your skin to burn in the sun. Cutting this out can increase your tolerance to the sun. You are able to get enough sun in more northern latitudes during the winter months. Many more don't realize that living in a city can block the beneficial rays of the sun from reaching your skin. This is a phenomenon caused by the dense electromagnetic fields of modern technology. It's important to regularly go out into the country, take off your sunglasses, and allow the sun's beneficial rays to touch your skin. Vitamin D is even produced through your eyes. That's why taking your sunglasses off helps stimulate your body to produce this life-giving vitamin. If you are in an area or time of year that getting out into the sun is not practical, be sure you're taking D3 with K2 and magnesium. Your body has an issue processing vitamin D3 if it's not getting enough of the other two supplements. If you've been supplementing and wondering why your vitamin D levels are still low, this could be the culprit. In a number of studies, zinc deficiency is linked to depression. Zinc also helps your body metabolize omega-3s. So taking these supplements together is a great idea. This list of vitamins is not exhaustive, but it's the more commonly observed deficiencies that affect mental health. I look forward to discussing how spirituality affects your health. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions you'd like addressed on the show. There are also astrological services available on my website with more services coming soon. Be kind to yourself while you explore your mental health. It's not a race and you don't have to be perfect about it. I wish you peace.